Hello and welcome to the next video in our series of Economic versus the Environment. This one is called Actions that Hurt the Environment. It's not the intention here to go into detail about different types and causes of environmental damage. This should have been covered in earlier courses. However, some students have a limited knowledge about the full range of situations, so this section lists them and groups them, and we cover the main areas shortly.
So firstly, air. So this comes from emissions. Emission means a gas given out into the sky. So emissions from factories, transport exhaust from cars and trucks and motorbikes, fossil fuel burning, animal emissions, which is mainly cows digesting the grass and farting a lot, nuclear accidents, and military action. Military action is often not included, but it actually accounts for quite a bit. Okay, next one, fresh water. So this includes chemical pollution from industries, from factories, chemical pollution from agriculture, especially runoff of nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen is one of the main fertilizers used for agriculture, and it dissolves in water like salt or sugar does. So it runs away very quickly when it rains and fills the rivers with extra nitrogen. And the third one here is increased use of water for human activity, which includes agriculture, things like irrigation. So what about seawater? So here we have a problem of deliberate dumping. People take things out, often far out into the sea, and dump them because they think that it's not really part of the environment. And the sea is also the eventual ultimate destination for a lot of waste plastic. A lot of waste generally, but especially plastic. So it floats down the rivers and gets to the sea. And waste, disposal of waste, plastic is a problem because we know it doesn't rot. Nuclear waste is a big problem. This is one of the things they put under the sea. And landfill, which is just generally some way to put your rubbish when the guy collects it from your house or from TMK. Where do they put it?
So next one, soil. This includes deforestation and destruction of plant and animal habitats, industrial pollution, basically the bad stuff that they put into the air, a lot of it falls down onto the soil, and unusable areas. For example, after nuclear accidents, but also because of urbanization. So building on land that used to be used for agriculture. And lastly, soil degradation. This means the quality of the soil is getting worse, and a lot of that is about using natural fertilizers compared with chemical fertilizers.
Lists like this show that not all the environmental causes rely on the same argument. As an example, we could look at the last item, destruction of plant and animal habitats. This is a biodiversity issue rather than a global warming issue. So if some arguments are different than others, we can group them and then assess their importance. We could say, for example, that global warming issues are more important than biodiversity issues, because if we get global warming wrong, the human species may not survive. But if we get biodiversity wrong, the impact will be much smaller. Based on this prioritization, most of the videos will be dealing with issues about global warming. We will look at biodiversity and food quality in separate videos at the end of the course.
So let's look again at the list and identify the type of environmental issue involved. So firstly, air, and the events are factory emissions. The issue is it causes global warming, also health problems. Transport exhaust is the same. Fossil fuel burning, also the same. Animal emissions, this is about global warming, not really about health. Nuclear accidents, global warming, also health, and military action the same. Now, if we move on to fresh water, chemical pollution from industry is a big problem. This causes health and food quality issues. And increased use by humans of the water for things like irrigation. This is about population increase. For seawater, one of the big problems is deliberate dumping. So people take some of their rubbish, includes things like nuclear waste, in containers, and they dump them far out at sea beyond what they think is the environment. And that will cause future problems if those containers start to leak and things like that. Oceans are ultimately the destination for a lot of waste, especially plastic. And that's causing the destruction of wildlife, fish species, and creatures that hunt the fish. And it's also a biodiversity issue. Waste. So plastic waste we've just talked about, and that is a biodiversity issue. Nuclear waste is going to cause future problems, and landfill, the place where they take your rubbish from your house or your school, they are going to be giving off methane gases for many years. So that's future problems. And for soil, we have industrial pollution, which is making the quality of the soil on farms worse. And so there's a loss of farmland. Deforestation, which is causing global warming, loss of animal habitats, and erosion. And unusable areas after things like nuclear accidents or military training grounds, and this is causing health and loss of farmland issues as well. And destruction of plant and animal habitats, this is a biodiversity issue.
So these lists are not intended to be 100% perfect, and arguments could be made for other links. The key idea is that the word environment is not a single subject, but rather a high umbrella level name for a group of problems areas that have some things in common. So now a quick note about military action. This does not often make the list of causes of environmental damage, but in fact it's a major cause. Maybe it doesn't make the list because citizens don't feel they have much control over it. So you have a picture here of somebody demonstrating, protesting to achieve clean energy now, and he's saying, I can do something about this, but I can't do much about the war in Ukraine.
If you drop bombs on factories, especially weapons factories, any dangerous chemicals the factories are using will be released into the environment together with a lot of dirty smoke. If you drop bombs on dams, the water will damage everything below the dam. If you create military training or testing grounds where there may be unexploded shells or where you have tested nuclear weapons, the land will be unusable. In war situations, the normal rules about almost everything are suspended. That means they are put on hold to help with the war effort. For example, normal democratic freedom of speech is replaced temporarily with censorship. In the same way, any environmental protection rules will be suspended. And this is the end, my friend. See you again next time.